Now let's settle and deal with the matters on our hands this afternoon. And starting today, Ghanaians will be required to pay a new tax, the carbon emission tax. It is government's way of checking the carbon emissions from emitters such as vehicle operators, power companies, construction companies, industry, and other motorized sectors. The emitters, in turn, will pass on the cost to consumers of their products. This exercise is ruffling fares already, and transport unions are now pushing for fares to be increased as soon as possible. The unions were forced to suspend a 20% increment in January when the Transport Ministry intervened and pleaded for a dialogue on their concerns. However, the move did not prevent government from pushing through with the implementation of this controversial tax, which was passed by Parliament before it went on a Christmas break. We'll hear from transport operators and their customers shortly. First, let's tell you what this tax is all about. So, per the law passed by Parliament, together with the 2024 budget, all vehicle owners are required to pay an emission levy from February 1, 2024, and today is February 1, 2024, so the tax kicked in today. Now, specific sectors would also be required to pay an emission levy. Those are some of the fine details in the law passed by Parliament, which is now being implemented by the Ghana Revenue Authority. The Act will impose a levy on carbon dioxide equivalent emission on specified sectors and internal combustion engine vehicles. The aim, according to government, is to promote the adoption of eco-friendly technology and green energy. The emission levy will be paid exclusively through Ghana Gov platform. And we know that for those who are using vehicles, the mode of payment is when you go to DVLA and renew your vehicle roadworthy certificate, it will be paid the amount. Now, road use certificates, like I was mentioned earlier on, will not be issued by the DVLA and other testing centers without evidence of payment of the emission levy. So there's no way if you drive a vehicle or you own a vehicle, you can escape this tax, because without paying, your vehicle will not be certified to be on the road. So now let's show you which sectors or industries will be affected by the emission tax that kicked in today, February 1. And we have motorcycles and tricycles. They will be paying 75 Ghana cedis annually. So every year, if you use motorcycle or tricycle, whether for your own private use or commercial use, you will pay 75 Ghana cedis. Now, motor vehicles, buses, and coaches up to 30.0 liters, that's the engine capacity, that's 150 Ghana cedis. Also, we have motor vehicles, buses, and coaches with engine capacity above 30.0 liters, that's 300 Ghana cedis. And if you are operating a cargo truck or an articulated truck, you also pay 300 Ghana cedis annually. There's also construction, affected sector, that's the construction sector, the manufacturing sector, the mining sector, oil and gas, electricity and heating. Now, for these category of people captured by the law, for construction, is 100 Ghana cedis per ton of every emission that you generate. For the manufacturing sector, it's also 100 Ghana cedis. So for mining, oil and gas, electricity and heating, construction and manufacturing, is 100 Ghana cedis per ton of emission generated in the course of your business. And already there's been reactions. The transport unions are unhappy about the tax. Mother Union, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, says it will pass on the cost to their passengers. They will join us shortly. Right now, though, let's hear from patrons of public transport and what they make of this new addition.
Starting today, owners of motorcycles are expected to pay at least 75 cedis as part of the emission levy implemented by the government. We are here at the Accra New Plant Station to find out from passengers if they are ready to pay the increment that will come with the levy. Interacting with drivers earlier, they say the least they can do is to increase transport fares if the levy kick starts today. So we are here to speak to some passengers and hear what they have to say.
Yes, but last be no madam for because We need engineers on this issue. The government could have engaged the ordinary citizens on this as well. What would the levy be used for?
Car crony wisi and sister and wisi rather soon in Namtown. Yeah, just tax no. Now, Eddie acquire can and I say, can't be son and I'm one, I bind by money back on the car for. And what you know, and you may be a cost was a BIA maintain, or one driver 4 years we tax, who could try Betty as a tax, we tax. Yahweh cry, oh no, you require 7 muck of a match now, or come you never to your tax account. And you may of course tax in a yard also. It's ever to be a church, a yard and sana. My dream makes ya sana the corona there. I happen. But oh, why nearby? Young white tax, ya do tax.
Same way there. Drivers won't be too fair more. Yeah, passengers there. We a passenger. Who need say beer? What I say? Because almost facing difficulties.
We as passengers have little to say on this issue because we have no choice. We can only plead with the government to reduce the taxes and levies.
What I say? And there's almost a mobile be too fair anymore. Yes, come, but also, and I'm saying here on it is scanning what they but now say quantum, and also what you want him here on to bed, but I'm so overcooked. And I ban the yesterday say, Onion near Mamu, on good near Mamu, my. So I live, no, I have too much. Oh, by ya, surround the cry. Just say, near my, I'd be near ye, dear, Tarash be beer, ye tutumu, I know high. Am I a whole cherry?
You live in a bumper or gender.
The drivers will pass the levy to the passengers. It's not their fault though. But an increment in transport fares affects everything including food items. So it won't help.
Because maybe I'm to Northam be an effective number because between Northam, car for never for 2 months, passing ever for no coffee on us bottom. In Tiasabano, a man and new cost and she because I show you the MY. Yeah.
Well, this afternoon we have experts to deal with this very important matter. I don't know whether you were aware that you drive behind a vehicle and there's smoke coming out of the vehicle. I mean, you don't have a choice but to, sort of inhale them. There are health implications for this. In fact, I've been checking and it's quite serious. Perhaps it's one of the reasons why government is implementing this law. We have experts to deal with this one. But first, let's go on the line and speak to an executive member of the GPRTU, Deputy PRO of the GPRTU, Mr. Samuel Amoah. Mr. Amoah, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse here on Joy News.
My brother.
So, per the law that was passed by Parliament and government directive that implementation should start today, if any of your members should, take his or her vehicle to the DVLA for roadworthy certificate, the law is that person will pay extra as far as the emission law is concerned. How are you taking this?
My brother, let me take this opportunity to say good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, it's true. This bill has been passed. And it's something that we, the transporters, are not very happy about it. The reason why we are not happy about it is we heard of this and then we wrote a petition to the Parliament, petitioning them about this bill that should it come, it will give us another burden. Because we already know that this emission taxes that they are bringing in, or the emission levy is the same as the pollution levy we are paying on petroleum products. Whenever we go to the filling station to buy fuel, we pay 10 pesos a liter on every fuel that we buy. So if they are also coming out again talking about the same emission, that is the pollution, because our understanding is the pollution is, the smoke. Let me put it this way: the smoke that comes out from our vehicles. That is the pollution that we cause.
Right.
And that is the tax they are taking it. And already we are paying that tax on petroleum products. Any vehicle, motorcycle, if you go to the fuel station to buy fuel, you pay 10 pesos on pollution levy only. So when this thing came, we complained, thinking that maybe they will do something about it. Even last January, 23rd January, we had a meeting with the transport minister and Honorable Furiata,
the finance minister.
The finance minister. We had a meeting with them, both the two ministers and their other executives. We spoke about this. We lodged this complaint, and we told them that yes, this is why we had wanted to increase our lorry fares. But even the first 20% that we are even proposing to increase, this emission tax wasn't passed. But we asked them, we told them that this emission tax is the same pollution tax that we are paying. That is our understanding. So they should reconsider the decision of taking those taxes. So this time around that, the bill has been passed. They have published it. Drivers, as I'm speaking today, if you go to the DDLA to do your licensing and whatever, you are going to pay this thing. And without paying, your vehicle will not be licensed for you. And it's something that is going to put another burden on us. So this is the state that we are in. And all that we can do is, yes, we have petitioned, we have complained. This is not only about the commercial vehicles, the private vehicles.
This is for everybody. I drive a vehicle and I'm paying as well.
Yes, everyone is paying, all right? So this is not a fight for only commercial vehicles. It's a fight for every person who owns a vehicle. This is one thing that we want the public to understand, that the emission tax, we are already paying it on petroleum products. You see, I was looking at when your people went out there to interview some of the drivers. Most of them don't even have any understanding about this emission tax. Okay, so let's ask ourselves: you want to bring a tax? Why can't you sensitize the people, explain to the people why you are taking this tax? Let us know that the same pollution tax we are paying on petroleum products is the same tax you are bringing. Okay, fine. The pollution tax we are taking 10% from the petroleum products. The amount of money we get is not enough to take care of the pollution. So we are bringing in another one. Let us understand before you bring it. But you can't just go and come with another name, emission tax, asking us to pay. And where they are pushed it to, there's no way you can sweat it. You can't dodge it. Because if you go there to renew your vehicle, to license your vehicle or whatever, it's there that you are going to pay.
Right.
So this time around,
Mr. Amal, let me just come in here briefly and to ask you. So, okay, in your estimation, because you are already paying 10 pesos as pollution tax on every liter of fuel you buy, and with the introduction of this emission tax, from the position of GPRTU, this may constitute double taxation. Is that your understanding?
Correct. That is 100% correct. That is why we wrote a petition to the Parliament. We met the transport ministries together with the finance minister. We met them. We mentioned this same thing, that our understanding is we are already paying pollution taxes on fuel. My brother, just imagine the amount of vehicles we have in Ghana. All right? Let's calculate the amount of fuel we buy every day. Every driver, when you buy a liter of fuel, you pay 10 pesos. And let's calculate the amount of money the government can get from this pollution levy alone.
The government is estimating to generate over 500 million Ghana cedis annually from this new tax.
Are you talking of the emission tax?
Right.
That is their estimate, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yes. So the thing is, the pollution tax they have been taking. Have we ever had any, briefing on it as to say this is how much you get and this is how much you make and this is how much you spend?
And what it's been used for, more importantly?
Yes. We are just paying. So if the taxes we are paying is not enough to take care of those things, why can't you call with the stakeholders or the public to educate them, to tell them that, hey, this taxes you are paying is not enough to take care of these things?
Did you get a response to your petition? Did you get a response to the petition you sent to the Ministry of Finance and GRA?
No, not yet. We've not gotten any response. That is why we came out with a 20%, a proposed 20% increment of our transport fare, and then the ministry called us to put a hold on it till we had a roundtable discussion before we come out.
And that roundtable discussion has yet to start. That roundtable discussion has yet to come on.
Yes, it's yet to come. So I remember the last time we met, the minister asked us to go back and draw or do our calculations as to how come we came about that 20% transport fare increment. Even what we did earlier on, the emission tax wasn't passed. So this time around, what has happened now, it means that we need to fall back, go back to our calculations, then insert the emission, tax percentage in it. Then we can also present to the Transport Ministry about our proposed, transport fare increment. But
Mr. Amoah, driving behind some of these commercial vehicles sometimes becomes a very challenging task because the kind of smoke that come out of some of these vehicles and the health implications of this on the populace. Clearly, something must be done about this.
Yes, my brother, it's 100% true. In this country, yes, we know that some of the vehicles, when they are moving, you see smoke. That is why we tax them. And when it got to a certain extent, the police has the right to arrest those vehicles when the smoke is getting out of hand or is coming.
Yes, it doesn't happen. We see them all the time. We see these vehicles all the time. They drive through.
Yes. So what is happening is we're already paying those taxes. So if the amount of money we pay is not up to what they can use to clear that system, what they have to do is to engage us, to give us more briefing. And even there is a law. It's not every vehicle that smokes like the way others are doing. So it means that if my vehicle is not smoking and another person's vehicle is smoking, I'm paying tax, and another person smoking, creating problem. It means that I have to pay for that person. No, there is a law that binds that person. I get it. Even at all, when the person goes to DVLA to renew his documents, that person must be checked to make sure that the DVLA will prompt them or to prompt that person to go and fix the vehicle before coming back for his or her document.
But you and I know that people. It is very common for people to get roadworthy certificate without taking their vehicles to the DVLA for any testing.
Well, that is something that we know sometimes some of the people used to do. But that doesn't mean the government should come out with double taxation. I think so.
Right. So now going forward, if, for example, any vehicle that is above 3.0, the charge is 150 Ghana cedis a year. So which means that if any of your members, including myself, if I should go to DVLA today to renew my roadworthy certificate, I will have to pay. You have threatened in the past to increase fares. This was not even one of the conditions. Now this also come to stay. So from the point of GPLTU, have you taken any decision going forward as far as this is concerned?
Oh yeah, it's today, being the first day of February 2024, is the day this exercise has started. So what the GPLTU is doing is we quickly call a meeting. We organize ourselves. Then we check on how much percentage will also come out again to present to the Transport Ministry for negotiation before we come out and brief the public.
All right, thank you very much. We'll leave it here, and hopefully the dialogue and conversation you want to have with the Transport Ministry will bring some clarity to this matter. But what is certain is that beginning today, in fact, it began this morning, and it's going to be what we're going to work with. The implementation of the emission tax, which requires which imposes some financial burden on users of vehicles. And of course, now, as you heard, they've even expanded it to include construction, mining, oil and gas, electricity and heating. So these are the areas that attract the emission tax. Now, this topic requires broader conversation. So let's engage the experts, because I've been doing a lot of search on the health effects of vehicle emission on humans, and the results I got quite unsettled me. Professor Kofi Amega is Associate Professor of Environmental Nutrition Epidemiology, lead project Brief Accra Project, Department of Biomedical Sciences, University of Cape Coast. Prof, you're welcome to the post.
Thank you.
And I also have here Emmanuel Apo, is a former Director of Air Quality at the Environmental Protection Agency, currently an environmental consultant. Mr. Apo, you're also welcome. And of course, we'll also be joined by Dr. Sandra Kwartin, also pediatric and air pollution advocate, senior lecturer, Department of Child Health, School of Medicine and Dentistry. So let me start with you, Prof. So government has this policy, and the memorandum that accompanied the bill to Parliament says that government was introducing this bill with the aim of promoting the use of eco-friendly source of energy to empower vehicles, and also part of government drive towards more climate positive action and to offset its carbon output. Do you think this justification that accompanied the bill is sound in terms of what you know?
A very good afternoon to your listeners. I don't know how to start. Indeed, any levy that is targeted at reducing emissions are a step in the right direction in terms of trying to mitigate climate change. So I'm always for it. I mean, I have no qualms about that. I think the issues have got to do with implementation. I overheard a PRO talk about the fact that was there a broad stakeholder consultation in the development and implementation of this policy? Maybe no. I'm not privy to the background issues.
I mean, if I can just chip in, I mean, broader conversation from my experience, clearly, when a matter is put before Parliament, there is a part where the particular committee opens the door for stakeholders or interest groups to bring in their inputs. And all of these are done before the bill is finally put for consideration on the floor of Parliament.
That's fine. I'm just trying to raise...
I think that broader condition is not right.
All right. So
yeah, I'm just trying to raise very legitimate issues.
I'll come to you shortly for your initial reaction. Let's listen to Prof.
Yeah, that of course borders on this dialogue that we are having.
Okay.
The other issue that I have is that this levy in itself, how is it going to cut back on emissions? I mean, I'm an epidemiologist. And of course, the health impact from these emissions are great. I mean, if we start, we're not going to end today. But are we taking the levy just for the sake of collecting a levy? Or is it a punitive measure such that vehicle owners will soon realize that, hey, listen, I'm paying 300 Ghana cedis a year because my vehicle is smoking, so I need to switch to electric vehicle. I need to go and buy a brand new car with very good emission ratings. Are we taking this money such that at the end of the year, I overheard you say government seeks to raise over 500 million Ghana cedis annually. That is huge. That is huge. How much, what percentage of this money is going to go into improve air quality in the landscape of Ghana? Well, I don't know. We are bereft of air pollution data. And these emissions have particulates, they have nitrogen dioxide, which are polluting our landscape and then causing hazard to our health.
We'll surely come to the health implications.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Yeah. I'm just raising some of these issues.
Right.
So, I mean, how is this the $500 million, how is it going to be spent? How is it going to help improve our air quality? How is it going to help to mitigate climate change? You know, because if you say I should pay 75 cedis per year, I mean, I'll pay it, but then I'm still polluting.
Yes.
So these are issues that these are my initial
reaction. Let me bring in Mr. Apo. Mr. Apo, so your area of expertise is air quality. First, let me ask you, Ghana, Accra, I mean, let's expand the discussion to cover the whole country. The quality of air that we have, is it the best? Yes, please, if you can unmute for me, Mr. Yes, so we can hear you loud and clear.
The quality of air
yes,
is improving
yeah,
with time. Yes, we used to have very poor air, and currently a lot of interventions that were put in by EPA has really reduced them. We are not yet there because the Ghana standards for PM2.5 is 35 micrograms per meter cube, and we are not yet there. We are still hovering around 36 or 37. And then along the roadside is even more waste from vehicle emissions. So in terms of air quality, yeah, there have been some gradual reduction, but we are not yet there.
All right.
Kofi was saying something on stakeholder engagement, and I think that is very, very important if you want to come out with a law like this. I remember this law, this CO2 emission tax, what they have wanted to implement them during Honorable Sheriff's time, NDC's time, and these things were asked to be deferred because there are a lot of things that have to go into it. If you're talking about CO2, it's only climate, and then CO2 is the climate enforcer. There are a lot of other pollutants like CO, NO2, methane gas that also have a lot of climate implications. But if you are saying that the climate, the CO2 is going to improve air quality, how is it going to improve air quality? Because there are certain classical gases that are recognized in the world. There are 5 of them: PM2.5, SO2, NO2, NOx, CO, among others, ozone. So these are key gases or particles that can have health implications on human beings. So if we are going to say we are going to improve air pollution, when we say pollution, it means that certain elements or substances have been emitted into the atmosphere, which exceeds a target value.
Right.
So how is CO2 air pollutant? It's only a climate enforcer. So even the caption of the whole thing, that emission tax, is so deceptive. And then again, if you want to do such a thing, there should be a broader stakeholder, a national stakeholder. It's not only the parliament. It should have to, all key institutions or organizations have to be part of it. And then you dialogue on it. If they have dialogue, they won't come out with the title emission tax. Because let me tell you, there's a Ghana standard for motor vehicle emissions. And there's a regulation that has been drafted, it's going to AG. And you're going to pay emission tax, which encompasses 4 key elements: hydrocarbon, CO, NOx, and then how do you call it? If you want to consider even climate, then we say CO2. So all these things are going to be in one body that people, when they test their vehicle, they have to pass and pay. So what will come out of that when you say emission tax and CO2? So the whole thing is so confusing. I don't know, maybe because of monetary consideration, that's why they came with this. But I don't agree with it that we should have, how do you call it, CO2. You say climate tax. Then everybody will be, but you say emission tax. What is the emission tax for? When you go to developed countries, it is when you are developed based on technology. If your car doesn't meet certain technological, how do you call it, regimes, you pay more. That have the MOT test and those things you have to pay. And the climate, this you have to pay. So we need to look at it. And if we want to leverage the climate aspect, I think what they should have done is that they should have gone to the NDCs. We said that we should leverage our natural gas, the gas that we have, and develop the Ghana National Gas Action Plan, which has been developed in 2015, to leverage that gas and produce LNG fuel for vehicles. And if you even want to do that, you want to bring emissions down, there should be some incentives that have to be given to, how do you call it, the motorists. Because if I'm bringing my car, it is Euro 5, Euro 6, which has high fuel efficiency. It is a hybrid vehicle, or it's an electric vehicle. They say because I'm using a vehicle, I have to pay emission tax, which is CO2. It doesn't make, I don't see why this is.
But then, Mr. Apo, nevertheless, this has come to stay. Perhaps the question really is, therefore, to what benefits are we likely to derive from this, and how should we approach this? But I'll come to you for a response to that question, because we'll also be joined by Dr. Sandra Kwatino, a pediatric and air pollution advocate. Dr. Owusu, let me first speak your initial reaction to this. The emission tax has come to stay. The implementation started today. Are you happy as an air pollution advocate, and would this achieve more?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon to all your viewers and my colleague on the line. So it is difficult to say a yes or no answer to such a question. I think we need to look at it in terms of sustaining businesses while also protecting the vote. I think from my point of view, it's more of a dialogue would help both parties. Maybe we have started off with more education and making the various industries understand what is at stake. From my point of view as an air pollution advocate, what I know is that increasingly we are seeing a lot of conditions that has to do with high levels of exposures, and I'm sure your facilitators have already spoken about particulate matter 2.5 and all that. So the challenge is that we are all at risk. It's not only even children. In terms of respiratory health, it's a cumulative thing. So adults are also at risk. So I think it's difficult for one person to say, yes, just jump to it, because when such policies are laid, it goes to benefit one, it doesn't benefit the other. But I think what we said, and I think last year when we discussed issues of air pollution, we said it that yes, if companies can be supported to reduce the amount of emissions, whilst whatever tax they are paying is used to help with advocacy, improve standards of living for most people, it will eventually inure to the benefit of both parties. So I think that is what I would say, because these are not straightforward questions.
All right. So since you started on a health concerns, perhaps we can now delve into it and bring the other panelists to share their views on it. So, for example, if I am exposed to smoke coming out of a vehicle, how much of danger am I in? And if I'm living in an industrial area and I'm exposed to all the fumes that come out of those industries, to what extent is my health at risk?
Okay, so thank you again for this question. Yes, so what I would say is that the health effects are cumulative. So sustained exposures to PM2.5 levels for children in particular can predispose them to respiratory conditions. So for instance, from some of our researches that we have done, we realized that children, we try to monitor how much pollution school age children were exposed to. And with the use of the monitors, we were able to determine that from home to school, in the school environment and back, based on the exposures, what risk were they what were they at risk of? But in the same school, we had also conducted a school-based asthma study. And then we found that a lot of the children actually had asthma, more asthma compared to other schools where the children, based on their pollution monitoring, found lower levels of PM2.5. So although we know it's not a direct causation that once you're exposed to PM2.5 levels or PM10 levels, you will develop asthma or other respiratory condition, we think that significant exposures above what WHO recommends is worrying for us. And we know that in our part of the world, these levels are quite high. So, for instance, the whole year, what you're supposed to be exposed to, we found that some of children, especially whilst commuting to school and in school, had gone above the levels that were recommended. And as I said, in that same school, we found that more of the children had childhood asthma. So with the health implications, it exists. Continuous exposure can predispose one to developing respiratory conditions, asthma. So that is why we are concerned. That is why we think that it's something we need to educate the public about. And I know you've heard of this, the air pollution issue in the UK where a child actually died because
Dr.
also was never well controlled. It was because of where she lived at and where her air pollution exposure was so high beyond the allowable range. So they actually said the cause of death was air pollution. We haven't done that here in Ghana. Maybe we don't have the numbers yet, but we believe that looking at the exposures, the amount of vehicular fumes that children commuting to school are exposed to on a constant basis, there could be some same risk that occurred in this country as would occur also in Ghana.
Please hold it there for me. Let me bring in Professor Kofi Amega, and I'll go over to Mr. Emmanuel Apo to look at, now that government has started collecting the money, 500 million Ghana cedis is expected at the end of the year. Where do you think the money should go into? But let me find out from you, Prof. Prof, so, I mean, smoking cigarette, tobacco, has debilitating effect on the human body. But there's a warning on every cigarette that you buy. Can same be said for, fumes that come from vehicles, from factories, and from other areas that this bill or this law is seeking to tackle?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, exposure to, I think Sandra has said a lot on the health implications in terms of the studies that they are doing amongst school children to provide some empirical evidence from our settings on the health effects of air pollution on respiratory health of children. But yes, just exposure to fumes from vehicle also has an impact on your health, just like smoking cigarette. To stretch it a little bit to the kitchens, I mean, this charcoal and wood that our mothers used to cook sumptuous meals for us to eat, they are exposed to high levels of PM 2.5 in those kitchens, and especially the ventilation ratings, the ventilations of these kitchens are very poor. And it's just like smoking cigarettes. Smoking, if you stay in the kitchen for about 4 hours to cook with this dirty fuels, it's just like smoking about 6 packets of cigarettes a day. And the health implications are massive. We talk about PM 2.5. So these are very, very small, fine particles. And then small, fine particles less than the diameter of a strand of hair. And they can penetrate very deep into our respiratory and cardiovascular system, get into the blood and cause a lot of havoc from cardiovascular diseases. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence from the developed world, Europe and North America, on the health implications of air pollution. Some of the evidence are causal. Unfortunately, we don't have local evidence from Ghana and from other sub-Saharan African countries. And the more reason why possibly governments are not acting on this. So from a health standpoint, I am for this levy. I mean, no two ways about that. We need to clean the air. We need to ensure that the air is improved, for improved respiratory and cardiovascular health benefits. Sandra talks about school children. Some of our schools are located in very polluted enclave. And so, for example, a project that I lead, the Breathe Accra project, we have deployed over 60 sensors, air pollution sensors in the landscape of Accra. Some of them are in cluster of schools, Kanda, Kwashima, and others. And the level of pollutions that we are seeing in these schools is very, very high. No wonder there is exacerbation of asthma. Children are always having respiratory conditions. But the question here is that for me, we are a country just like other sub-Saharan African countries that are bereft of air pollution data. We need this data to inform policy decision making. How many monitors, reference grade monitors do we have in Ghana? Maybe Mr. Apo will educate us on that.
Absolutely.
Once upon a time with the EPA, so I will leave that for him to talk about. But if the monies that government is going to raise, over 500 million Ghana cedis annually, if government is going to commit even 10% of that money to improve air quality, and climate mitigation, we will make a headway. And how do we do this? Buy some monitors, reference grade monitors, and put it in the urban areas, so that we know the extent and magnitude of air pollution in these areas, so that the EPA and other stakeholders and partners can act to clean the air. But if we are collecting the money just because it's another avenue to raise tax, to raise
revenue.
To raise revenue, then I'm sorry. I mean, drivers are going to rebel, and that is the more reason why I talked about the fact that is this thing punitive or what? Because if you tell me that you are collecting money from drivers who are driving rickety and polluting vehicles, and you still leave them on the streets,
to still pollute.
I mean, of what public health benefit or public health gain do we get out of it? We don't get anything. So we need to come to a point whereby, people go to DVLA, drivers go to DVLA to get their cars registered, and they tell them, listen, you haven't passed the emission test. That is what is done in the advanced countries.
Yes.
You don't pass the emission test, you don't get registered. So it's not a matter of collecting your money. We need to make sure that you fix the problem. So please, I mean, yes, the public health benefit, the public health risk from exposure to air pollution is very, very high. And so if this levy is targeted towards improving public health from exposure to air pollution, then of course I'm for it every other day.
All right.
But if it's another tax stream, another revenue stream, then please let's rethink the whole strategy again.
Thank you very much, Prof. Stay right there. Let me bring in Mr. Emmanuel Apo. So, Mr. Apo, the issue about air monitors and whether or not we are progressing or we are retrogressing, and then the other issue about in the advanced country, if your vehicle does not meet the threshold in terms of the emission level, it sometimes becomes difficult for you to have the certificate to keep that vehicle on the road. Ghana, it doesn't exist, because you find vehicle that is emitting so much, it just has a roadworthy certificate boldly in front of the windscreen or at the windscreen of this vehicle. How do we deal with it? Now that the law has come to say we are collecting so much, what would you suggest should be the way out? Because we can't take the money from the driver. Already they are paying 10 pesos on every fuel they buy, including me and you that use vehicle, as pollution levy on the fuel tax build-up. And then we are going to pay 100 Ghana cedis more. When I paid, I don't expect to see vehicles emitting so much fumes into the atmosphere. What should be the way out?
Thank you very much, honorable listeners. I think let me start with the legal point of view. When you look at the act, this Emission Levy Act, it said it seeks to control adverse health effects of environmental pollution caused by carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, in line with international conventions. The emphasis is on carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is not an air pollutant. Kofi and Co, the lady also made mention about health effects of particulate matter and other gases. They are the key things that we have to look at. So in terms of legality, even if you collect this amount and you divert it, you also have some problems with applications. And I think the drafters should really look at that aspect again. And then probably they can come out with the LI that will define, they broaden the scope. Then that could also do the trick. The other aspect is that EPA has drafted motor vehicle emission regulations. It has gone to AG. I think it's in the final stage. And then this motor vehicle emissions encompasses so many things in terms of vehicle, which the tester has obligation, the motorist has an obligation, and then the regulator also has an obligation there. But if you look at this tax that they have brought, there's no obligations attached to them. So I'm of a view that if we can leverage the airline from the EPA and broaden the scope to cover vehicle testing, because everywhere in the world, you need to test your vehicle, pass it before you can, even you get the roadworthy and use it.
Yes.
So this has to be done. And then most of this money can also be channeled into that aspect, come out with garages that will be well international recognized garages where people who fail can go there and fix their vehicles. So that one can also be looked at. And then we can also look at the testing, how do you call it, centers. What sort of emission testing equipment do they have? Some are lacking. So we can also help them with some of this money to improve testing in the country. And the testing can be idle or on the road testing. If you really want to improve emissions from there, then we should have the stationary one as well as on the road testing. And the other aspect I'm also thinking is that because this one is just saying CO2, it is mainly for CO2. It's very, very difficult for me to comprehend because how do you divert money collected from CO2 for climate enforcer, and then you said you are going to use it for air pollution reduction? So they should come up again, and then probably it's not too late. You should have a broader stakeholder and come out the airline that would broaden the scope, because the health implication of how to call it, exposure to pollutant, like especially PM2.5, is very, very there everywhere. And in part of our even African sub-region that we live, the condition that already exists has generated a lot of particles that are higher than the Ghana SARS and WHO. So in natural sense, we are even higher. So how do we protect people from this exposure? That's where we need to look at techniques, invest some of the money in getting some improved materials like nose masks, the high density nose masks for people who live even closer to the Sahara. We have a lot of people closer to Sahara from the northern sector who seriously conditions are serious because we are lacking monitors there. You don't know, the situation could be very, very dire over there, from the south to the north. Then
I think the connection to Mr. Emmanuel Rappoe has frozen, so we'll re-establish contact with him. But let me bring in Dr. Sandra Owusu. So, Doctor, the concern still remains. It's about after paying, then what next? I mean, I can't pay 100 Ghana cedis and still get exposed to these fumes. You are an advocate. What is your solution to this, if I should ask you? If you can hear me and you can unmute Dr. Sandra Owusu so we can hear you. All right, so we have challenges with the network. Let me see if I can bring in Professor Kofi Amega. Can you hear me?
How do you call it? Air pollution that you need. So the need to have regulatory grade monitors that are continuous monitors that can usually get very good data for research, for health assessment, and also for how do you call it, decision making in the country. And I think if we're able to do that and then use most of this money for that, if not only that, we are collecting the money to improve our GDP, how do you call it, revenue, and use them somewhere else. But if really we want to improve air quality in the country, then most of this money should be channeled to procure regulatory grade monitors for training, advocacy, health, how do you call it, improve the health system that we have and the data collection, even in the health. Our data collection in the health sector is not good. and we need to improve upon that.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Akpo. Thank you very much. Thanks so much. Yeah. Let me see if I can re-establish contact with Dr. Sandra Owusu. Dr. Owusu, can you hear me? All right, let me go over to Professor Mega. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I can. So we are wrapping up on the conversation. So my question is, I pay, and then what else? What next? Do I still? I don't expect to see the very reason why I'm being paid. I'm being asked to pay this money in the public space. Therefore, then it becomes just another revenue generation venture, isn't it?
Yeah, you see, I think we keep on going back in circles. And, you know, for example, in environmental science, there's a principle they call polluter pay principle. You pollute, you pay. But then that money is used to clean the environment. You know, Mr. Poe talks about the fact that, yes, carbon monoxide is a climate enforcer. And so if this target, but air pollution and climate change are two sides of the same coins. So if this levy is targeted towards addressing climate change, then certainly it is also targeted towards addressing air pollution. But what I keep on reiterating is that, you know, and I listened to the PRO from GPRTU. He has very legitimate concerns. And in fact, I align to everything that he says. You know, he says, in the sense that they are already paying some levies or some taxes on petroleum, blah, 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 which I don't know. Forgive me my ignorance on that. And now you tell them to also pay emissions levy. And he asked the question that, and I listened to one of the drivers as well. I mean, what are you going to use that levy to do? And this is what I and Mr. Poe are proposing that, I mean, if government, and you indicated to us that this has come to stay, so possibly there is nothing much that can be done about it. But government should ensure that at least a proportion of that money can be used to resource the Ghana EPA. They are in distress, you know, in terms of they don't have the resources to monitor air quality. They don't have the resources to monitor water quality and others. So if government every year is going to make an attempt to even buy some reference grade monitors to install in Accra, Kumasi, and other urban areas, then of course we are going to get data to inform air pollution control policies. We are going to get data to inform climate action plans. And importantly, we, the researchers who sit in the university, we are also going to get exposure data combined with some health data and be able to generate health effect studies and show to government and policymakers that indeed air pollution is killing X amount of people. There is a global burden of disease estimate, which every year estimates the deaths that are attributable to air pollution. WHO also does that on an annual basis, but they don't even have the data. They don't have the data on air pollution from Ghana and other sub-Saharan African countries because there are no reference grade, there is no ground monitoring. So they are leveraging on satellite data, and satellite data also has their challenges. So indeed, something has to be done about it. We don't want to be a continent whereby every time they're talking about we don't have data, we don't have data, we don't have data. Things have to improve. And possibly government can show that indeed this monies that we are collecting, these levies that we are collecting, we are going to use it to do A, B, C, and D. But in all honesty, possibly I also see it as another revenue stream, which for me is because we shouldn't see this as a revenue stream. That means you are taking advantage of drivers. You have seen you have taken advantage of drivers to collect another money.
In fact, vehicle owners, not only drivers, vehicle owners.
Vehicle owners. Right. You are taking advantage of vehicle owners, including myself.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you're not going to use the money to ensure that there is to mitigate climate change. You are not going to use the money that is mitigate climate change by reducing our carbon footprint. You are not going to use the money to improve air quality. So more or less, excuse my language, we are being shortchanged.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. And we'll end it here. I don't know if Mr. Akpo has any reaction or Dr. Owusu has any reaction. I can allow for just 2 minutes so that we wrap up the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is a conversation that we need to continue.
Right.
And repeatedly, I say that there's education that has to be sustained. We need to do more in terms of educating the public on what it is that air pollution contributes to, especially the vulnerable in the population. And here, for what I do, I'll mention children. We are seeing a very high burden of asthma in childhood. And we believe that one of the major drivers of childhood asthma is urbanization and air pollution. And so we need to make the public aware of this. And as
has it become a regular feature in the hospital? Has it become a regular feature?
Governments need to commit money to support researchers so that we can provide our own local data on what air pollution is doing to our population. And we believe that that can help drive some of the policies that government wants to put together. Thank you.
I asked earlier whether, you raised issue about reported cases of childhood asthma, and I'm asking whether this is becoming a regular feature in the hospital, that we are reporting so many of these cases.
So what it is that childhood asthma is the rising burden of childhood asthma. Yes, we have seen cases in the hospital, but the major part of it is actually unreported. So that is also the other problem when it comes to childhood asthma, because most families have not even realized the need to report worsening symptoms of shortness of breath, episodes of difficulty breathing as something that they need to seek help for. That is the other unfortunate thing. So for instance, in our school-based research, we found so many children who have asthma but have never ever accessed help. They've not been taken to a doctor officially to be diagnosed as having asthma, and which means also that they have never received the proper treatment for asthma. So that is another aspect of the problem that we also need to address.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Sandra Owusu, pediatric and an air pollution advocate, Senior Lecturer, Department of Child Health, School of Medicine, Dentistry, University of Ghana. You also heard Emmanuel Apo, former Director of Air Quality at the Environmental Protection Agency, currently an environmental consultant, and then also Professor Kofi Amega, Associate Professor of Environmental and Nutritional Epidemiology, Project Lead, Brief Accra Project, Department of Biomedical Science, University of Cape. We're going to wrap up this conversation with a special report on the emission tax.
Rapid climate change in recent years has become a global concern as the United Nations continue to encourage countries to take actions to address the menace. Ghana, in a bold but controversial move to combat the escalating threat of climate change, has introduced an emissions levy after Parliament passed the Emissions Levy Act in December last year. Government says the levy is aimed at discouraging the use of carbon dioxide emitting internal combustion engine vehicles. Whilst discouraging the use of combustion engine vehicles, the levy is to promote the use of eco-friendly technology such as electric cars. Unbeknownst to many, the levy does not only affect the transport industry, but many other sectors. According to the Act, the levy will affect the construction, manufacturing, mining, oil and gas, electricity and heating sectors. How much are the affected sectors expected to pay? For the vehicles category, motorcycles and tricycles are expected to pay 75 cedis per annum. Motorcycles, buses and coaches up to 3,000 cubic centimeters will pay 150 cedis per annum. Motor vehicles, buses and coaches above 3,000 cubic centimeters will pay 300 cedis per annum. And cargo trucks and articulated trucks are expected to pay 300 cedis per year. For the remaining sectors such as construction, manufacturing and mining, among others, they are expected to pay 100 Ghana cedis per ton of emissions per month. The new levy takes effect from 1st of February 2024. Despite the justification given by government tax expert Francis Timori-Boy believes the levy is a revenue measure rather than an environmental objective.
I think that it is more of a revenue measure than the environmental objective. Why am I saying that? environmental tax or carbon tax is supposed to discourage or have a direct effect on behavior. So if you say that you want people to shy away from fossil fuel, that's petrol, diesel cars, then they should shift to an alternative. The question is, the alternative that we are being offered here is electric vehicles. Is it within our reach? The answer is complete no. I mean, the minimum electric vehicle you can have is around $26,000, even in the advanced countries. You ask yourself how many people in Ghana can even afford that car.
Also, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union is unhappy with the decision by government. They are already threatening to pass on the cost to their passengers. Abbas Imoro speaks for the JPRT.
We are actually disappointed to see the implementation today, because we've spoken about it, that it's going to be 2 taxes on a particular item. And we believe the message has gone down well that those in authority will do something about it. But lo and behold, it has come, and we have nothing much more to do than to add it to whatever problems we already have and make sure we add it up to the new law that will come out.
We also hit the street to find out what Ghanaians think about the levy. Here are their views.
I say, but last be no madam for because I say in we say free a car at all,
We need engineers on this issue. The government could have engaged the ordinary citizens on this as well. What would the levy be used for?
And I see a giscano at the map a buying car cronin Wissian, sister and Wissian or as in town. Yeah, just tax. Now, yeah, the acquire can and I say, can't be son and one, now buying by money back on the car for tax. Yeah, you tax.
Same way there. Drivers won't be too fair. Yeah, passengers there. We a passenger. Who need say beer? What I say? Because almost facing difficulties.
We as passengers have little to say on this issue because we have no choice. We can only plead with the government to reduce the taxes and levies.
So what I say? And there's almost a more baby too fair anymore. Yeah, yes, can come, but also, and I'm saying here on it is scanning what they about. Now I'm saying quantum, and I say what you want him here on to bed, but I'm a sober cook. And I ban the yesterday and say, Onion near Mamu, on good near Mamu, my. So I live, no, I have too much. Obaya surround the cry. Just say near my Abiania ye Atara be beer, ye tutumu, I know high. Am I a whole cheering?
You live in a bumpers or gender.
The drivers will pass the levy to the passengers. It's not their fault though. But an increment in transport fares affects everything including food items. So it won't help.
Because maybe I'm to nothing beyond a 15 of my baby.
Kwasi, Adai Quantin, and Semafa rejoices report for Joy News.
Welcome back to The Pulse, this Thursday's edition, and very soon I'll take you to the various public university campuses because members of TIL, they started their strike today, and the effect is that nothing, actually absolutely nothing is happening at the university campus. Only security personnel are at post. The rest of TIL members, about 10,000 of them, they are out of the office. Now this afternoon, the National Labour Commission met with the leadership of TIL, the Senior Staff Association of the universities, to try and resolve this matter. We'll get the very latest and take you to the campus to tell us how this is affecting our correspondents already. Will tell us how this is affecting life on the university campus and whether or not the vice chancellors are considering shutting down the university. That is coming up. But what we're going to deal with it right now is somebody I'm sure that you're all waiting to see, Dana Hamilton. It's a pleasure to to have you on set this
Pleasure
afternoon.
to be here too, Elton.
The doing of the Lord, I can see it all on you.
It's marvelous in our sight.
Yeah. So tell me the inspiration behind that beautiful song.
The inspiration behind that beautiful song, some years back, I was having a conversation with my brother, Dr. Sam, and telling him he was handling the message of grace. And he knew my life, he knew my life story. And he wrote a beautiful piece about me, about childhood, how one thing led to another, how I've lived with different people, not great experiences, some wonderful, some not too good, and how they're all interlinked. My choices in life, as in schools I went to, the people I met, how they've all come together to form who I am today. Hence the opening statement of the song, the pages of my life tell of the goodness of God, every chapter of my story. So it's just, I sit back and I ask myself, would I be sitting next to Elton if even a single bit of my life was taken out?
From you.
No, I wouldn't.
I can relate to that because I think I read about you.
Right.
And you said that you grew up at Afonkwanta.
Yes.
And I know Afonkwanta very well.
Oh, you know
the
Afonkwanta.
compound houses.
You know that, oh yes.
And then how difficult is it for young people to actually come out of that environment, the teenage pregnancy and all that? Because compound house, one bedroom, if your father is not asleep, you can't sleep, which you have to loiter around.
Yeah.
And therefore all manner of vices.
I
So for
know.
somebody to come to Afonkwanta and then emerge the
and
way
then
you have found,
emerge
clearly,
where we are.
it can only be the doing
It
of
can
the Lord.
only be the doing of the Lord. And so every verse of the song is telling different sides of me. Basically, when I say, you got to a point where I say, I'm still here, not because of what I did, but it's the doing of the Lord. Take my ministry, for instance. The average person has to, when I started singing, the average person or everyone had to be in Ghana for a certain length of time to be able to produce a certain song, promote the song. I didn't have that kind of time. So it wasn't what I'm able to do, but what God has done.
You have this Nigerian on the album?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Chioma, right?
Mercy Chinwo.
Yep, Chimo,
Mercy Chinwo.
right.
Yeah. She was amazing. She was super amazing. We've known each other for a while. We met in Ghana years back, maybe 4 years ago. This was pre-COVID. And we met in Action Chapel. And since then, we've become friends. Friendship got better and bigger as years went by. And so when I wrote this song and recorded it, one day it just hit me. This has mercy written all over it. So I picked up a phone and I called her. And here we are.
So how is the song doing?
By the grace of God. It is the doing of the Lord.
Oh, absolutely.
We hit 1 million in a week, didn't we? And that was super amazing. That was unprecedented. And it can only get better.
So what is next for you? We know that the Awake experience is coming up.
Yes.
What is the plan to even promote it even more?
I'm sitting next to you.
To send it to every corner around the world.
Yes. So having the chance to sit next to you and talk about even my ministry is purely the doing of the Lord. So thank you for allowing yourself to be used to be a blessing to me. But yes, Awake Experience is coming off this month, February, on the 18th in Accra, Christ Temple East, and then in Kumasi on the 25th of February. Accra, Christ Temple East, Kumasi, Church of Pentecost, Bantama. But the special thing about this is that it's the 10th year of this event being held. We started in 2014 in London, and we're here today. We're here today.
So, walk us through the lineup of events.
Okay, so like I said, the event is on the 18th of February at ICGC Christ Temple East. That is kind of behind Labadi Trade Fair and is off the Bush Road. So you go from Labadi Beach, then you make a turn at the Goyle filling station, and the Christ Temple is huge auditorium. The time is 4 p.m. And I have Mercy Chinwo, who I collaborated with on the night, Daughters of Glorious Jesus, Christ Temple East, the CT Praise be on there, Adjoin Chua and Jackie Mpari will be there. And we're inviting everybody to grab themselves a ticket and to be there. The following week, we go to Kumasi, Church of Pentecost, Bantama, and I have Kofi Sapon, Kofi Osupepra, Akese Brimpo, myself, Reverend Ben Sabonso, on there on the night. And we're asking people to support by getting a ticket by dialing *725*8080#.
And are you able to tell us how much the ticket is going for?
Yes, I can try. The standard in Accra is 100. The double is 180. The VIP is 200. And a family of 5 is going for 400. We also have some special tickets for people that we call ministry supporters who help with the Diana Hamilton Foundation. And we ask them to give us a little bit extra. And we also get the chance to meet with them, talk to them, have a discussion with them. Such people can dial a number to ask for this ticket. The number is 054-690-7473. I'll take it again, 054-690-7473.
And so this is purely song ministration event from Accra to Kumasi.
Yes. So we're ministering in songs. I believe that what we do is the same as preaching, but with chords, instruments, and sometimes a bit more people on the stage. And God is using us in different ways to be a blessing to our generation.
It may look simple, but it costs a lot of money to put this together.
Ooh.
Are you getting corporate Ghana support in this area? By the
grace of God, we have Awake Purified Drinking Water sponsoring us. They are the headline sponsor. Hence, the event is called the Awake Experience with Diana Hamilton. I also have Enterprise Life.
Because if Enterprise was not, I would have called them.
You would have called them.
I'm withdrawing all my investments.
So yes, Enterprise Life is on board. Property Electronics is on. DH by DH, and we're also on. And they've been a blessing.
So this collaboration between Ghana and Nigeria, how is it going? How is it helping our music to break the boundaries of Ghana?
Oh, it's been amazing. By the grace of God, we did this. We put it out. Today I had somebody send me a list of about 30 bloggers in Nigeria that have done a write-up on this collaboration. And that's amazing. I get contacts from people in Nigeria just wanting to have interviews with me. So it's been a beautiful blend. When you see Mercy and myself, it's a great blend. We also had the chance to, blend our cultures. You know, she was teaching me how the Nigerians do their dance. I was teaching her to do adwa. We merged our brands. I did all the clothes, because I own a fashion brand, DH by DH. So I made all the clothes myself. My company made it. Funke Adepts also helped make some of the clothes. We blended cultures. Even our outfit was very intentional. And she also owns a beret company, these hats that she wears. We got the chance to swap and wear these. It was beautiful.
So gospel music in Ghana has a bright future.
By the grace of God.
Despite concerns we've heard that we need to go into more English, you still maintain that the future is so bright.
God is still on the throne. I've been in this industry since I was 14, and we are not where we used to be.
Give us a line in the doing of the Lord as we wrap up on this conversation.
I'll do the chorus. What shall I render? Indeed, what shall I render? What shall I render to you? What shall I render? Senye nyamine wo mafa. Enkenyo. Enye nyamine hume mobwa. Aya. Enye nyamine wo mafa. Enye nyamino ye madom. This is the doing of the Lord.
And I hope this song helps deal with this strike that is threatening to close down our universities as early as possible.
I know. I hope it stops, because I remember I stayed home 2 years post-secondary school to be able to get into uni. It wasn't a good feeling.
Yeah, it wasn't. Right.
Remember that time, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I hope we don't get there.
Of course. Ladies, folks, the lady from Afro Quanta.
Yes.
And now a global icon. Thank you very much for passing.
Thank you for having me, Elton.
The Awake Experience is starting in Accra on the 18th of February. It will travel to the Ashanti regional capital. We have the Daughters of Glorious Jesus, Mercy Chinwo, and a lot more. Song ministration, the power of the Lord will be under the presence of the Lord, and it will be amazing.
Amen.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
This is The Pulse with me, Elton, but we'll take a break. We'll be back to deal with the labor unrest. Welcome back to The Pulse here on Joy News, and live on the campuses of Ghana's public universities. It's almost at a standstill. A strike declared by members of the Tertiary Education Workers Union, TEU, kicks in. Essential services TEU Ghana provides are all suspended. Many students have been left stranded TEWU Ghana declared a strike over the government failure to pay extra duty and car maintenance allowances, Tier 2 pension funds, among others. We will take you to the grounds now at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Students have been left stranded on the campus as they were denied access to some facilities on the first day of the strike. Let me take you live now. And Nana Boache Dankwe Yadom is my man on the beats. Nana, you're welcome to the Pulse. Tell us the situation on the KNUST campus.
Well, Elton, the strike declared by the Tertiary Education Workers Union Ghana has really taken a toll on academic activities on campus, on the KNUST campus, and also on the Apia Akenteminka University campus as well. These are the two campuses we visited today. Well, during our visit to these campuses, we realized that security services, library services, and the central administration services have been withdrawn due to this strike action as declared by the Tertiary Education Workers Union. Well, some students who needed to visit the university library were asked to go back to their various halls to study due to the strike. Well, TEWU KNUST went around today to withdraw their members who had to go to post to work today. And so throughout the day, the KNUST branch of TEWU had to go around and withdraw their members. And the Apia Kenteminka University as well, it has also affected academic activities on that campus. We could see that the university library, the main library, has been locked. And so students who would want to ply the university library would have to find other means to study. And so looking at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and then Amundsen, we can say clearly from our checks that the universities have been really affected due to the withdrawal of services by TEWU Ghana.
Is there any indication the university may want to take a decision, maybe for example, close down the school? I understand that in matters of this, and the protocol is that after 2 weeks, if the situation persists, the university may take further action to close down the school and allow students to go home.
Well, we did not hear anything of such from the university management. What we know is that the cleaners should be around to clean the university campus. That was not done today. And so from the university management, from tomorrow onwards, they would have to look for alternative means to make sure that the university campuses are clean and not dirty as it is today. We could clearly see that the university campus today was a mess. And so there are going to be other means to make sure that the university campus is clean from tomorrow going. But then for security services, we don't know how the university is going to manage that situation. But clearly, cleaners really got affected by who withdrawn their services could not really come to school today to clean the university campus. And so the university still remained dirty. So the university would have to adopt other means to make sure that the university is clean from tomorrow.
But students, how are they putting themselves? The classrooms are locked. They don't have access to the library and other amenities on campus. How are they holding themselves?
Well, these students who have to visit the university library especially, because that is where the first point of call when we visited the university campuses. We visited the university library, we could see that the library was closed. And so students were out there waiting for management to reopen the library for them to get inside. But then up to now, the university library has not been opened for the students to ply the library. And so students are stranded and they are quite disappointed. They did call on government to also heed to the concerns of TEWU Ghana, so as to allow them come back or resume work so they can also have access to the university library and other lecture theaters.
Nana Boache Dankwe Yadom from the campus of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and of course the Apia Akinteminka University, bringing us the information from those two universities. At the University of Ghana in Accra, refuse remain uncollected with some lecture halls closed. School vehicles are also parked because the drivers are part of the strike. Kenneth JC has been on that beat for us, and he joins me also live for an update. So in the morning when you went there, it was virtually a ghost town, right?
When I went there in the morning, Elton, I mean, activities almost had been grounded to a halt. Sanitation was a problem because the cleaners are all off campus. You could see loiterings around, There were heaps of refuse, scattered around with nobody to clean them. The University Basic School, for instance, remains closed, and other essential services also remain shut. So we're currently at the Ministry of Education, where the three unions held a meeting with the Ministry of Finance. From there, they came to the Ministry of Education to also hold a brief meeting with the sector minister. So let's speak briefly with them and ask them of the outcome of that meeting. You're live on Joy News.
Thank you very much, my brother.
What happened when you met with the Ministry of Finance?
Yeah, so today in the morning, we had a long-standing meeting with the Ministry of Finance, and all stakeholders were available. We have the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. They were in the meeting. We have Ministry of Education represented. We were there. Senior staff, TEWU, and then FUSAG were all represented. In fact, during the discussion, proposals were made from our end, and then the ministry or government accepted it in good faith. And they assured us that they are going to do the part of their of the proposal, and afterwards we also look at our own. So, I mean, fairly we say it was highly fruitful.
And then were any timelines given?
They were so sure that very soon, and so we believe that their very soon is very soon. For us, the moment the very soon is activated, we'll also make sure that we'll do the right thing.
So until then, your strike still holds?
As we speak, by the mandate from our national chairman, we are still on strike. Senior staff and TEWU, we are still on strike. FUSAG.
Okay. Let me come to you as well. Do you stand by what your association is saying, that until your demands are met, although you've been given assurance that they will consider your demands, you still continue your strike?
Very much so. We are still on strike. Just like my national chairman said, these are demands that we were not even supposed to strike before it's given. It's pensions we are talking about. We are not asking for any increment in any allowance. But my money that you have deducted, give it to the fund management for investment. That's all we are asking. So, in fact, the government has to blame himself for all these things. Okay. We're supposed to be working. Our children are at home. It's actually disturbing us. Okay. So they should let their very soon be very soon. Okay. And we will call off the strike. The next day we are going to work. So, okay.
Initially, we knew that you were going to meet the finance ministry, but where we are currently is the education ministry. How did that last-minute meeting come about, and what was the outcome with the education ministry?
Thank you very much. The unions on strike, they are more or less in the education ministry. So whatever is going on, it's a concern to the sector minister. So he requested that he want to have a word with us. So it's the same thing. They are all asking that the union should do what is required of them. For us, what is required of them, we know. But like the previous speakers are saying, it's the same thing. We are on the same position. What we ask for is done. We are at where we are.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So, Elton, those were the leadership of TEWU, FUSAG, and then the Senior Staff Association, who just concluded their meeting with the Finance Ministry and then the Education Ministry.
We found out from you, Kenneth, earlier in the morning, you were also at the Labour Commission office. What is the latest on that?
That meeting was what was moved to the Ministry of Finance, Elton. That meeting, there was a bit of miscommunication on the location of that meeting, so it was eventually moved to the Finance Ministry, which concluded not long ago.
Kenneth Jesse reporting live from the Ministry of Education. The ministry, together with Finance, met with the striking unions, but as you heard from them, they will only call off the strike. Government is able to meet the demands that they put on the table. Key amongst them is the payment of their Tier 2 pension with interest, of course. Well, this is just the beginning of an election year. Trend of labor agitations. Already, this is what is happening on the labor front. So as you can see, ongoing strike. The strike we have on our hands. Senior Staff Association of Public Universities in Ghana, that's SSA, University of Ghana, they are on strike. Federation of University Senior Staff, FUSAG, they are also on strike. Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEWU, also on strike. They declared it yesterday. Ghana Association of University Administrators also on strike. So these groupings, all operating at the public universities, they declare that they are on strike, and they claim almost run to all of them. That we have, last year we had Mortuary Workers Association, the Judicial Service Staff Association, Teachers and Educational Workers Union of Ghana, TUC, TEU appears everywhere. College of Education, Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, the Ghana National Association of Teachers as well, and NAT also went on strike. And we're already in 2024, Trade Union Congress, Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union. They've even indicated that they've given government a 14-day ultimatum to address their issues of salary and other conditions of service. Otherwise, they'll also embark on an industrial action after the expiration of the 14-day notice that they have provided government. So it is an election year, and it's a season of strikes, and so no surprising. But the government is trying to resolve this matter so that academic work can progress smoothly on the university campuses. Now let's talk about security. As we continue on our conversation about the growing influence of Russian security group Wagner forces in especially West African countries. Yesterday we heard from Dr. Ishmael Hlovo and Dr. Adam Boda. Let's speak to Professor Vladimir Djidanso, a highly accomplished and respected academic leader who currently serves as the Dean of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. And Dr. Djidanso, it's a pleasure to have you on the pause.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure talking to you too.
My fear and concern is the fact that Burkina, Mali, Niger, they've served notice, they are leaving the regional bloc ECOWAS. That means that they will be on here. I know that under the ECOWAS protocol, even when a country wants to acquire certain arms, the neighboring countries must be aware, so nobody is taken by surprise. Now we have three groups that have served notice that they want to leave ECOWAS, meaning that we wouldn't know whatever is happening in their country. Wagner is lurking around. To what extent should we be concerned about the issues that is happening in the sub-region?
We should be seriously concerned in the sense that when you are intending to have integration, you're also thinking about community security, like you rightly put it. No country could do anything that would not inure to the benefit of the collective. So the three deciding to move away from ECOWAS is of concern economically and for the union efforts, and then for security. So it's of great concern. We cannot let it go as if they would go, let them go. We need to think about our effort for almost 50 years at forging some kind of unity, which is a very good kind of unity in these days of globalization, especially. That if you have all the synergies in your economies put together, you have rapid development, you have economies of scale, you have intensity of trade, you have factor mobility, which is very, very good for integration. But when these things are not done and some are going away, it makes it difficult for the rest to even find their way through the forest of integration. So I'm worried myself to hear that three of these giants are going in. If you want to look at the landmass of ECOWAS, these three, if they should actually go, it means that about 70 to 75% of the landmass of ECOWAS would be gone.
That's very interesting. But I mean, so how should ECOWAS approach this? Should ECOWAS give in to their demands, and that will mean, asking them to do whatever they want? What approach should ECOWAS adopt so that ECOWAS does not come across as begging them to stay?
Of late, ECOWAS has not played the card very well. Intimidation, threats, etc. You don't build a union on threats. Meanwhile, there is no big, let me use that word, big country. Of course, Nigeria is a huge country with all the resources and things like that, but it's not that type of leader like Germany and France together leading the Euro or the leading Europe. We should not let them go on threats and intimidation. This is the time for diplomacy. In integration, yes, people look at what they benefit from for integration before they join. And if it's not working well, they would move out. In our own local kind of thinking, when you are serving a god, a little god, bosom, and the bosom is not, delivering, you leave and serve another one.
Right.
So certainly this is what is happening. I have said on several other fora that what ECOWAS needs now is diplomacy. And in diplomacy, there's no end. Start talking and find a way to get into yes. Unfortunately, ECOWAS doesn't go far before they start intimidating. I have said on one of your sister stations that we need to use what we call track 2 diplomacy. Track 2 diplomacy is where you use eminent people whom the people revere. You know, when things went bad in Kenya, we used Kofi Annan instead of using any other person. You know, if you want to bring in Americans, the three are angry with America, or France, worse. If you want to send the Akufo-Addos, Macky Salls, and the Tinubus, it's worse, because these are the people who threatened them. I have advocated that we should use the Victor Behos and the Ibn Chambases.
Right.
These are people who can really broker a deal for ECOWAS.
Doctor, the countries that have announced their breakaway from ECOWAS, these are Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. It's coincidental, all of them have the presence of Wagner in their countries. Is this just mere coincidence, or there's some kind of a subtle attempt for Vladimir Putin to have a huge presence within the sub-region? And to what extent should the other countries be worried with the presence of Wagner?
I have said it several times that the presence of Wagner in West Africa or in any other West African country is not in any way a threat to a neighboring country. If you know the workings of private military companies, they are always on call only when they are invited. They cannot enter any country. They would not lead any other country or insurgents to attack any country. I know our security agencies were very much worried about the presence of Wagner in Burkina. But I talked to a lot of them. I talked to the head of state, and I said, Wagner will never enter Ghana without being invited. So we shouldn't fear that Wagner would enter. But let us also understand the work of PMCs. It's not a new phenomenon. It has been used from time immemorial. And there are several countries who have PMCs. It's just because of late, geopolitics has been so high, and the Russian presence is a little worrying. That's why we are making so much noise. Let me tell you, India has a PMC, Pakistan has, Japan has, several other countries have PMCs, which are of late being used as a veritable tool for foreign policy. And that's exactly what Russia is doing. If you understand geopolitics, then you want your presence in another country, but you can't use the normal, known kind of diplomatic networks. And you can use your private military company. Remember, Britain has the largest PMC, the 4GS. You know, it has the largest, close to about 700,000 membership, men and women in uniform, serving as a private military company. I think it's bigger than all the militaries in West Africa, for example. Should we fear? We shouldn't fear. We shouldn't fear, because they would never attack until you invite them. Now, Putin is using the Wagner for geopolitical reasons. Now, if France is losing foothold in Africa, in international politics, there's no vacuum. Somebody will quickly rush in. Yes. And that is exactly what Russia has done. And so
there's no cause for alarm. You don't see this as an attempt by Putin to get a hold on Africa and the resources.
Well, to get a hold on Africa, why not? Because in 1884, when Germany had been able to get together, Prussian leader had been able to put Germany together, 1870-71. He also decided to have a place in the sun. France has colonies, Britain has colonies. Why not me, Germany, a big country? So he also came. So that is the order of international politics. Where geopolitics is concerned, France has always been at the forefront of African affairs and using all that it could. Look at uranium, the very big raw material for atomic energy and atomic whatever, bomb and that sort of thing. And France controlled it in Niger.
But
buying uranium at 0.80 euros. That is not even 1 cent. Not even 1 euro. You know, then the coup happened. And this man now moves the price from 0.80 a kilo to 200 euros a kilo.
Right.
Thousands of times. And now when you read the World Economic Outlook, you'll be told that Niger is going to be the fastest growing economy in Africa and the world by 2035.
Yes.
So if France is leaving all these very good things, or they has been sacked from Africa, would you want to wait? And the people are also, I mean, wanting the Wagner around. So why not? So yes, you may be right that yes, it's a chance for Putin to also get a foothold, just like any other country would have done. So I wouldn't say that call, that beacon is not there.
But clearly, Doctor, you agree with me that the underlying issue is the high level of poverty, unemployment, and dependence that Africa, especially the sub-Saharan Africa, appears to be. And therefore, it becomes very easy for any kind of infiltration. Shouldn't ECOWAS rather be interested in economic empowerment? Rather than all of this, sometimes the conditions they impose...
Economic empowerment comes from the type of governance you have. We are worshiping democracy as if it is manna from heaven and God is saying, go and take it. Let me tell you, it is a governance issue. All the three countries. It's a governance issue when you sit down in Mali talking about democracy a la France, democracy a la America. We in Ghana even, we have fused the Westminster type of democracy and the American type.
Right.
And we chopping it. And things are not working. And because things are not working, you know, people are not happy and anything can happen. In all the countries in West Africa, in all the countries in Africa, that is the crux of the problem, is the governance problem. So when you get a systemic kind of resolution, what has happened in West Africa is more systemic than conspiratorial. Conspiratorial coups are coups made by young officers, platoon mates in the training, they say, hey, let's take over, and then they would take over. Those ones are very bloody and very unpredictable.
Yes.
But these ones are systemic coups. In 2012, if the Malian army had not stepped in, the Tuaregs would have been in Bamako in 10 days. In Burkina Faso and in Niger, it's the same thing. So you see, these ones are systemic coups to save the system from imploding. And when you have systemic coups, it means it is something with governance. Now, ECOWAS says we are coming in within 1 week, hand over to Bazoum. It was ridiculous. You build democracy in 1 week. It's ridiculous. Note it, Ghana. We were conscious of what we wanted. And we gave Jerry Rawlings 11 solid years.
Right.
Around that time, we were building institutions for good governance. And that is what has saved Ghana from any coup. You know, so you better help them rather than threaten them. And if somebody is ready to help them push away the Tuaregs and push away the insurgents, the jihadists, so be it. So for me, ECOWAS must go in and understand the specificities of these countries and know that it could be any other country. I told my interlocutor on your program the other time that several other countries are ready for systemic interventions. I mentioned Sierra Leone, and lo and behold, like a prophet, it nearly happened.
Right.
I mentioned Senegal. The signs are still there if they don't put things right. Central African Republic, anything can happen. Equatorial Guinea, Congo, Brazzaville. These are all countries that are having systemic problems. And if we don't take care and these things happen over there, then we begin to measure them through American lenses or French lenses. We need to understand these things very well.
And it does appear to me that for these three countries, a return to constitutional rule is maybe far from reality, at least for now.
At least for now, but give them time. Let them build who is going to rule. Just because you want a civilian to rule, you just make the ballot. I read my article and read every time I've been saying it. Let me repeat. The ballot does not stop the bullet. The ballot, you just go and put in there and you put Mchidanso there as head of state. What about the state itself? What is needed are institutions of state understanding the democratic principles of governance. Other than that, so for me, I'm saying ECOWAS must give them time, a very good timetable, and help them build their institutions. Help them, even if it means sending people. We helped Sierra Leone and Liberia to build.
Okay.
And Ghana sent a lot of specialists, including even electricity engineers,
right,
teachers, what knows. Let's help them. That's the most important thing, so that we don't see these systemic coups again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vladimir Nchidanso, international relations expert, and sharing his thoughts on the situation in Burkina Faso, Mali, and of course, Guinea, and the Wagner connection as well. But before we go, studies have revealed that Germany is in need of skilled workers from around the world, and African countries are playing an important role. But potential immigrants fear that racism in Germany is on the rise. Join us for more on this is Thomas Sparrow with our partner DW. Thomas, welcome to the Pulse. What role does Africa play in Germany's interest in wooing foreign skilled workers?
African countries certainly play a very important role when it comes to German authorities' goal to attract skilled workers from around the world. It's important to stress that this is a very significant challenge that the German government has. There are around 1.73 million vacant jobs currently here in the country, in everything from healthcare to the IT sector to the services sector. And some estimates have revealed that Germany needs around 400,000 skilled workers per year. And as such, German officials, from ministers to the German chancellor to the German president, who's the head of state here in the country, have been traveling to different countries, also African countries, to sign, for example, bilateral agreements, also to open specific migration centers. And it's important here to mention that only in the last year, different ministers traveled to countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, Zambia. In Ghana, for example, German authorities opened a specific center for migration, jobs and development, something that they would like to also do, or they intend to do, in other countries in the continent as well: Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt and Nigeria. So clearly it is the case that Germany sees potential in African countries, in working with African countries to attract those skilled workers. However, this is only one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, and that's something that German authorities have also stressed when visiting countries in the continent, is that those migrants that have traveled irregularly to Germany, that do not have the right to stay here in the country, must also return to their countries of origin. So those are the two sides of the coin. And for German authorities, those two sides of the coin work obviously together. And that's the reason why when they travel to these African countries, they have been trying to sign these memorandums of understanding that have all these different components.
This will be very exciting, but what are the main hurdles for those would-be immigrants, especially from Africa?
One hurdle is interest. That's something that German officials have obviously noticed when they travel to certain African countries. Germany is not necessarily the first country that a would-be migrant thinks of. More interesting countries to many are either in the continent directly, or let's say also the United Kingdom or the United States. In other words, countries where English is spoken. And this is a second specific hurdle. The German language is not necessarily an easy one to learn. And that's why German officials in particular are also interested in having would-be migrants start learning the language even before they come. So in centers in the countries of origin. And then there's the issue of bureaucracy as well, which is a big topic here in Germany. Germany is seen as a very bureaucratic country, and as such, German authorities have been trying to reduce that bureaucratic hurdle by, for example, reworking the skilled immigration law, by implementing new regulations as well. The goal there is to make things easier for qualified would-be migrants to actually come to Germany, to be able to stay and to obviously fill some of those gaps that we have already mentioned.
And my final question will be, clearly discrimination is a challenge. So, I mean, there have been a lot of studies in this regard. What result did you get?
Further hurdle, the issue of discrimination, the issue of racism, because there is a perception among many migrants that are already here in Germany, and by the way also among migrants that are interested in coming, who see reports about racism here in Germany and in Europe, that there is a problem with this issue here in Germany, that discrimination is a big issue. And this is, by the way, not only a perception. if you look at specific studies done both here in Germany, an anti-discrimination report, but also reports done at a European Union level, you will see that Germany, not only Germany, but specific Germany, has a problem when it comes to this issue. Other countries in Europe also have similar problems. And one area that is particularly troublesome, that is particularly problematic, is anti-black racism. We've spoken about this issue in previous segments here on the program, but I'll just remind you of some key statistics there, because 54% of black people here in Germany have said they've experienced racism at least once. 41% of black men and 39% of Muslim men have also reported racism and discrimination, for example, when dealing with police. So these are certainly very worrying statistics, and that's why experts have stressed that there is a need not only to help those that are affected, those who are already here, but also to deal with prevention, to increase prevention so that this problem doesn't grow any further.
Thank you very much, Thomas Sparrow, from our partners DW TV. Well, that's it for today's edition of The Pulse. My name is Elton Bobby. Have a productive and a prosperous February. Joy Business is up next.